Turn up the dive, feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember I share and subscribe. Join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
The paranormal, UFOs, monsters, mysteries. You're listening to Talking Weird. And now, from a cabin deep in the Northwoods, your host, Dr. Dean Bertram.
Greetings, all my fellow widows and widettes. Welcome to Talking Weird on the Untold Radio Network. My name is Dean Bertram. I'm your host for the next hour, which I hope you'll be joining me for. And as always, I'm very grateful that you are here. Or maybe it's your first time, in which case, welcome. Maybe you're watching us live, where we go out every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube and X. Or maybe you're watching the show archived on one of those sites after the fact, or listening to the audio-only version of the show. Welcome. Speaking about Tuesdays at 9 p.m., I'm about to be changing the time of the show. We'll be moving to Thursday nights. That's not going to happen for a couple of weeks yet, but just be ready that if you ever drop by on a Tuesday and I'm not here, it's because you have to wait for 2 more days. I just had some conflicts with actually with my daughter's homeschooling schedule, which makes it much easier for me to do a Thursday night. So I hope you'll follow me over to the Thursday night time span. It has been hot up here in the Northwoods. I had a wonderful time up north with my daughter and my girlfriend and her children, even further north than I am at the moment. And it was beautiful being on a lake, which makes me think of lake monsters, which makes me think of cryptids, which makes me think of all things bizarre. And we're going to be talking about some cryptids tonight, particularly a very strange one. But before we get to that, I'd like to remind you all that the Crossing Realms Conference is coming up. That takes place in Missouri, September 19 to 20. And I'm going to play a brief, I suppose, trailer teaser for that conference. I'm going to be there sharing my short film, The Shaver Mystery, which is extracted from my upcoming feature, The Man Who Invented Flying Saucers, where I'll also be speaking about Ray Palmer and Richard Shaver and other aspects of the mystery, which will be covered in the feature documentary, but which aren't in the short. There's a bunch of incredible guests there, including my ex host on the other show I used to do on Untold Radio Network, which some of you might remember, Mysterious Library, and that was Jason McLean. He's one of the, in fact, of the presenters of the event. You're going to have all kinds of other wonderful guests. I think Ken Gerhard's going to be there. People from Small Town Monsters are going to be there. Bigfoot Michigan Rob's going to be there. There's just an absolute incredible range of folks that are going to be talking there. You can go and you can buy your tickets now, and all those details will be in the little promo that I am about to share. So check it out.
Crossing Realms Conference is coming this September 19th and 20th to the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri. Tickets to this landmark event are on sale right now at Eventbrite. The powerful speaker lineup will cover topics from Bigfoot, UFOs, and aliens, so you will not want to miss attending this amazing 2-day inaugural event. Again, that's the Crossing Realms Conference, this September 19th and 20th at the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri. Please mark your calendar and get your tickets before they vanish. Space is limited.
That is going to be one heck of an event. I hope to see many of the listeners of the Untold Radio Network and of my show in particular, Talking Weird, at that conference. It's always such a great joy to connect with people who share your interests, and conferences are probably the best place to do that. You can make lifelong friendships. I know I have at various film festivals and conferences that I've attended over the years. Enough of that. But still on the cryptid topic, we're in for quite a treat tonight, a very special video, which will the link to see the video itself is in the show notes, and we'll be dissecting some of the images from it. And it's going to be shown to you by my guest, who is the person who captured this footage of essentially an alien big cat, or what looks like one. And it looks like it might even be kind of shifting its form some in the videos. It's fascinating. Anyway, he's an American author, a screen and songwriter, as well as an avocational paleontologist, referred to as the Prince of Paleofiction. He is best known for his Chronos Rising series of sci-fi suspense thrillers, which have garnered both Book of the Year and People's Choice Awards. He is the Amazon #1 best-selling author of the cryptid research book Monsters and Marine Mysteries, Memoirs of a Gym Rat, an outrageous expose of the health club industry, and the children's book I Want a Tyrannosaurus for Christmas. And in fact, we've talked about his Monsters and Marine Mysteries, and some of his other books on the show before. So if you go back in the Talking Weird archives, you're going to find a few other episodes he's been on talking about some of these things, if lake monsters are your thing. Our guest, he's had his own experiences with the weird, and they go back for decades. In the summer of 1984, he encountered an unknown creature digging itself out of a grave in a cemetery in Philadelphia. In that same region in 1989, he watched a UFO hurtling across the night sky do an impossible maneuver, a complete and instantaneous 180-degree reversal with no deceleration or noticeable turning, at a speed that was at least 3 times that of the commercial jets below it. During the summer of 1993, he observed a huge anthropoid-like creature, which he believes to be a Sasquatch, for 10 to 15 minutes as it dived repeatedly for crayfish in a Connecticut lake. And on November 2, 2016, he and his daughter observed a winged entity that had apparently crash-landed in the street near their home. The creature had an estimated wingspan of 3 to 4 feet, and once it recovered, flew over the author's SUV. Since then, he has had multiple encounters with cryptids, including the one we're going to be talking to tonight, to the point he decided to again document his experiences in order to share them with the world. So I'm delighted to welcome back to Talking Weird. I think that this maybe his fourth time on the show, which is one of our most oft-repeated guests, the one and only Max Hawthorne.
Greetings.
Man, it's good to have you here. It's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for putting up with me and my monsters.
I'd like to hear about your monsters. It's been a while since we chatted, though. Like, I think I said you've been on the show at least 3 times before, but it's got to have been over 6 months to a year since we last talked. What's been happening in your life since then, other than the video that we're going to get to? What else has been going on?
Well, the craziest thing that happened, actually, and I guess this is the ideal showcase for it, and something, of course, nobody expects, is I was on vacation in the Philippines for about 3.5 weeks, and a chunk of that time was spent on a rented houseboat off of Palawan Island. It's a gorgeous area. I just sent you on Facebook a little while ago, like 2 photos from there to give the viewers, I guess, an idea what it's like. Very tropical. Palawan is a tribe-owned island, so nobody actually lives on it. It's a great preserve, Jurassic era volcanic stone coming up out of the ocean itself. Beautiful, as the pictures will show. But and so we were out on the houseboat. I was lying on this wooden deck. My daughter was in a kayak, and my wife was somewhere behind me or something. And all of a sudden I'm lying back, I'm looking up, I have my polarized sunglasses on, and in the clouds right above me is a giant disc. And I kid you not, I mean like a gigantic disc, a saucer. And it was in the clouds, but you could see it because it was like the same color as the clouds. So it sort of looked like the clouds, but as it moved between them, you could see like 3/4 of it. And it was a perfect circle. Perfect circle. This is not, oh, it's a cloud that looks like that or anything like that. It was like you could see like all of this and then cloud and then like that and then cloud like that. It was gigantic. I mean, this thing could have been a mile across. And I was staring at it and I'm looking up and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? And I went, oh my God, like you don't expect this. And I sprang up and I rush over and I grab my phone, which of course is dead. I mean, like completely like nothing, which is my fault. And then I'm like rushing around. I finally track down my wife. I get her phone, and in the time, and everybody will be like, well, this is what happens, or sure, or whatever. But I went to take pictures of it, and it had moved up into the clouds, and it was concealed. So I got a couple of photos of it that I'm going to show, not right now, but it's so morphed in at this point. You lost it. But I mean, it was a perfect circle. It must have gone up because it was much smaller, but it had to be like thousands and thousands of feet across. It was gigantic. And last thing I expected while I'm lying there back on vacation taking some sun.
That would have been the last thing to expect on vacation.
I mean, this is like, I have been seasick or whatever. Like, the food there, I got like sick from it. So for like 3 days, I've been like, and so I wasn't really taking, care of the phone. But I mean, just for that purpose alone, I had a perfect shot. I was right there, polarized glasses, boom, you could see it. I think the glasses helped through the clouds and what,
Was it night? Was it night? Did you say? We have a question from a very good friend of the show, Horace Smith, who's Professor Emeritus of Astronomy and Physics at Michigan State University. He's been on the show sometimes too. He's very open-minded, but he just asked, can a spotlight reflection be excluded? Maybe you thought you saw it at night.
No, it was like high noon.
Wow.
Sun was up there and everything. It's like the photos I sent you are like from evening and dawn, but you'll see if I'll send you some of the pics or something like that. But no, it was just bright blazing white clouds. This is the tropics, of course, the Philippines. And then moving through it is this immense, perfect circle disc. And you could see 3/4 of it. It wasn't like, oh, it's just like curve. It was this whole thing, and it was like moving through the clouds, and parts of it were obscured, like it was layered, like that. And it was big. I mean, big. I'd have to like figure out what the cloud cover was that day and date the times on the photos because like a minute or two made a difference. Desperately trying to get somebody's working phone, but and yeah, I just like I was like, holy, like the one I saw when I was 24 was just a white light, and it was just rocketing across the sky. And I'm staring at it like, wow, the speed, you can see the commercial jets under it, and they're moving like slugs, and this thing's going like a mile a minute kind of thing. And I thought it was a jet fighter. And then that's why I was watching it, and it just went shh, and then it went shh like that. And I was like, okay, that's impossible. That has to be like a UFO. But all you saw was a white dot, like a glowing white light or whatever it would be. This was different. This was like, like immense, bigger than an aircraft carrier, much, much bigger, and a perfect circle.
Wow.
And
What do you
quiet.
think, before we move on to the video, which we will, what do you think some of these things are? There's been so much talk ever since 2017 of Tic Tac videos, after the Tic Tac video was really gained popularity. And my suspicion is often there's advanced military technology which might explain some of it, but some of these things seem fairly spectacular. What's your take? Do you have a gut feeling or an interpretation of what they are?
Well, the one from the I saw in the 80s, that could not be any military technology we have. I mean, I was like 24. That's 36 years ago. For somebody to have something moving at several thousand miles an hour and then just do shh, shh like that, it was like it was going and it was like, nope, not that way. And it just, and I was on another show, one of my first shows, and I remember the guy, he was like one of these big UFO guys for the whole country or something, or North America. And he said he listened to the story and he was like, normally I'd say we're full of it. He goes, but a month or two after you saw something like that, he said, I saw the same exact thing. He said he saw something falling out of the sky. He thought it was a satellite. And as he watched it, it came down and then the same thing went right back up. See? So the fact that he, felt like it was legitimate also meant something. But this disc was like, I mean, It was like a small city.
Good grief.
Yeah. And like no sound, or like that. You wouldn't expect to hear jets or, a man-made thing, something. This thing was just silently drifting through the clouds, however high up it was, 10,000, 20,000 feet, 30. I don't know what the cloud cover was that day. I didn't check into it, but
Potential hologram, somebody asked. I know that's often a theory for some of these. They think there's maybe, a psyop or disinfo or something in the military casting
when you
things.
see it, I mean, at a hologram that's 5,000 feet wide, that would be an undertaking, And why would you do that in the Philippines, in the middle of nowhere? This type of thing. I think these guys were on vacation, whoever was in there, Or maybe they were like, "Hey, there's that crazy author who never signed our book." But it just, you would have to do the disc, the clouds. I mean, the whole sky. I mean, a couple miles of sky or something like that, And this did not look like a hologram. I've seen holograms before. This literally looked like something that was deliberately concealing itself, camouflaging itself, just like the clouds. It was the exact same color. I'm sorry. But as it moved through them, you could see it was solid, and they were like wisps around it, kind of thing.
That was from
Crazy.
a good friend of the show, Ken Rock, as well. So thanks for your question, Ken. What I guess I could talk about UFOs with you all night, because anybody who listens to this show knows that's my primary, probably, wheelhouse. But we're here to talk about a fascinating new video that you've captured on a home security camera, essentially outside your house. I don't know how you'd like to if you want to set the scene for that, or.
Oh, sure. I mean, I recommend everybody who's watching, if they're able to, because you could do two things at the same time: listen to me as well as go on there, but you can mute it or something like that. If you go on the YouTube channel, it's called Supernatural Survivor with Max Hawthorne. I almost forgot my name for a second.
It's in the show notes as well. So if people look at the show notes, I've got a link to it within the show notes on all of wherever this is streaming at the moment.
Yeah, the first 5 minutes or so is an introduction to the history of big cats, supernatural big cats, ABCs, this type of stuff, alien big cats, what they're called, and touching on that as an introduction. Then it gets into the video itself. What happened was, this was August of 2021, so it's going 4 years ago now, and literally it's my office where I'm sitting right here. Okay, and I have windows to my right, and the back there is rear lawn, and then it's all woods. Okay, and I would catch animals, you'd have the windows open, you could hear them and stuff, and excuse me, there is a security camera outside of there that angles back to protect the egress, so somebody can you can, I'm sorry, so if God forbid somebody was to try and break into your house, you'd have them on video, that type of thing. So I periodically would have the thing up, and I'd have the capture button ready, and I could click on it, and this way I would catch different animals. The deer, there were so many of them, but I would catch opossums and different types of feral cats and foxes and raccoons. Of course, there's whole gangs of those guys and stuff, all sorts of stuff. And so you would hear the rustling sound, and so I heard it, and I went and I clicked on it, and I went over to look out there, and as I'm watching, this large cat that was black, and you could barely see it because it was a little bit distant back behind the concrete slab, just sort of poked its head out, and then it walked across slowly, and then it turned sort of towards me, and then it went on its way. I didn't get all of that, because after it turns, there's only 30 seconds worth of clip that you get at 10 FPS, which is frames per second. And so what happened is, I saw it and I was like, wow, that's a big black cat. And then a little while later, maybe a month or two later, I was thinking, the cat was really large. And I tried to figure out how big it was. And I went out there and I measured, and the minimum height it had at the shoulder was 18 inches, which is about yay big, which is much bigger than a house cat typically. Our big cats, one is 13 inches at the shoulder and weighs over 20 pounds. So something that was 18 inches at the shoulder would be, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 times that weight. 4 times that weight, let's say, or something like that. So I thought at the time, based on its physique, seeing this dark silhouette, that it was a small mountain lion, which made sense because we'd had mountain lion tracks one time in the snow going between our house on our lawn and our neighbors. And those tracks were a solid 4 inches across. It took my entire fist to cover them. And it's in the video. So I brushed it off as being a young cougar, and even did a blog post about it, mountain lions in Pennsylvania. But then one day I was messing around with the footage. This was maybe a year ago. And I thought, there's some weird stuff here. You could see something weird. It looked like the cat was a little off. Like there was something like a hump at this and that. So I started adjusting, like brightening it. And then things started jumping out. And you could see as the cat was moving, things would like pop out of it. Like a head would come out of its shoulder, or its rump, or its rib cage, all these different shapes and forms and eyes and all this other stuff. And at one point it turns, and you can see like its head turn, and then it has its head start to multiply. You see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 4 or 5 heads at the same time, like it's a hydra or something like that. And this isn't like what would you call it, residual imagery, because residual imagery, and I used to do animation, if my hand goes like this, it would be a boom, 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 like that, like this type of thing. There's no evidence of that. What it looks like is you have the cat's head posing in 5 different places, different angles, and moving at the same time, and one head even blinks and the rest don't. So it's like, it looks like the thing also gave itself 5 heads or 4 heads. It's crazy. And the more you look at it, you guys should like go through the video while we're talking, because you're gonna have a lot of questions.
We have some stills too, you sent, if you want to show. If you want me to show any of those at all, you can tell.
Yeah, throw one up. I think I gave them to you. There's 2 that go together. If you move them back and forth, like
Yeah.
toggle, it'll show some movement. So go back and forth with that.
The first one, that's the second one.
And if we look at those, I wish I had like the ability to put a mouse on it, but see the glowing parts on the left are the cat's eyes, obviously. Okay.
Mhm.
But then if you go back one, please, the first one. Okay. Are you able to move your cursor around on that?
No, I can't do that. This
Okay.
is sharing.
So if we look where the cat's head is first off, okay, and go back to where its shoulder would be, its left shoulder. If you can see that, it sort of looks like a leg.
I can see
Okay.
it.
Okay. Now go forward one. Okay. Now you see that shoulder did not move. I mean, it stayed in the same spot. Now go back again.
Oh, whoops.
I mean,
Here we go. Yep.
okay. Now go back and forth, and where its shoulder is, its right, left front leg is staying. It's not moving, and it looks like there's teeth, like a triangular mouth, like a crocodile's jaws opening, and then these 2 oval-shaped eyes above that. These are all indicated in the video. Everything is frame by frame. I thought we'd be able to do a screenshot or share or something like that where I could move this, but it looks like that's part of the cat, but the cat keeps moving and it stays there. See? And so I spoke to an expert in the field, and he told me that what looks like is happening is these cameras are computerized digital cameras. They have computers in them, tiny computers, but computers nonetheless. And so these computers predict movement based on known imagery, so that as they do their thing. So when a cat is walking, the camera is expecting the cat to go doom, 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 like this. Okay. But if the cat's walking and all of a sudden a head with jaws pops out where its arm is, okay, the camera all of a sudden is saying, okay, that's not the same animal. So it tries to ID that. And then the cat keeps moving and leaves its leg behind. Then the camera says, oh, wait, that's wrong. And it moves and catches up to it. So the camera is trying to compensate for this animal, which appears to over and over again be changing shape, morphing itself, trying to change, like it can't make up its mind what it's going to be. And if you go back to those 2 photos, if you mind, okay, in the go forward one, okay, now see, I think this will be indicated in the ones I sent you, where that, we'll call that left foreleg is, that looks like I said, like an open crocodile mouth. You can see some teeth on the left portion of it and eyes above it. To the left of that, it looks like we're getting some sort of reptilian face right to its left, out of nowhere. Okay. Now these are 2 different things.
Yeah,
now,
this is the next one you sent me. So if you want me to go, if you do want me to move on, I've got 7 pics you sent me in order, so you can just tell me which one you want.
Yeah, let's just go back to those 2. Okay,
sure.
so I'm sorry. I guess I should have sent more in detail. I mean, when you guys watch the video, and cop through it right now, because we have time and I can take questions and answer stuff. But so that is indicate, I call it the gecko, because it sort of reminds me of the Geico gecko, like the face structure. Seriously, I mean, you see it and everything. The eyes are indicated. There's nostrils you can see. Again, I can't. There's a couple of teeth to the left, like little white teeth. Those aren't, I didn't add any of this stuff. This is all there. It's just like brightening it up and amping up the contrast a little to make it just pop, because you're making it pull forward. But in the back where its butt would be, there's a face that looks like an anthropoid of some kind, Bigfoot or who knows what could it be. But if you back it up one, just go back to the first one. Okay, so now I go forward again. Yeah, so you see in the back, and it stays though. Okay, it looks like there's two eyes and nostrils and an ape-like face, and you can see a fang, like the left fang, this type of stuff. And these are pointed out also in the video. So all these things, these little faces are like, it's like John Carpenter's The Thing, are popping up, like, bloop, 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 as the animal moves. And it had turned and looked in my direction. And what I think was going on there was, I think the animal was frightened of something. Maybe wasn't expecting to see me or something like that. And normally it's like, it looks like a cat. And so nobody can tell, it's just a cat, a big cat, but hey, it's a cat. But when you're looking right at it, maybe the cat sends something, I don't know, maybe there's something about me. Maybe there's something about the fact that it wasn't used to being somebody staring at it. Maybe it sensed the camera, although I think that happens a little while later. You'll see where the camera freaks out. But and I think it was scared, and I think it was just changing form or something like that to try and look. Hi, Patty. I am a rock star. Yes. She's the best. I forgot what I was talking about now. The cat. I think it was trying to look more intimidating, like a frilled lizard will put up its frill, its neck to puff out like that. Some animals will puff up, inhale to look larger, hold their breath, etc. At a point when it shows like 4 or 5 heads, I think it was actually trying to look like a group of cats, like a pack, to try and be more intimidating. It doesn't mean it's a dangerous, some scary thing or anything like that. I think it was it's a medium-sized predator, and I think it just happens to have, if it is what it looks like, of course, it happens to have this ability to change its form. It's fascinating.
Do you? I never put a debunker hat on, but I have to put a skeptical hat on. Do you think there's any possibility of like digital video artifact or something like that going on here, or
in terms of what?
Just in terms of some of the anomalies within the imagery. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's probably what a skeptic would probably ask. They just go to a digital anomaly.
Sure, I understand that. And you could say that if there was one or
Right.
two, but this thing changes form non-stop as it's going along. I mean, and the heads that start popping out of it, some of them are recognizable. There's a gray that's in there. Its whole arm turns into a gray's face.
That's a weird image, yeah.
Yeah, there's what you call a dog man, a wolf man type face appears. That's in this thing. There's a Bigfoot or an ape-like face. There's some. I have no idea what some of these faces are. There's a reptilian face, and that if that's all accurate, why would an artifact have such creativity? Like it's obviously in the original video. If you look close and you zoom in, even when it's pitch black, you can still see the outlines and shapes are getting weird. Once you brighten it, they become visible, and they're there. See, and I've not known of artifacts that can actually morph. You'll see, like, let's see if we have it. Let's go to flip through. Can you show me the thumbnail actually that I sent you?
I don't know if I can go through them, and you can tell me if that's the one.
Yeah, let's go.
So
Okay, let's stop here.
Two.
I'm sorry. Let's look at these two. Okay, so the one on the right, it looks like the one I outlined and put the eyes there. It looks like a dog man, as it's popularly called. You can see the eyes, and when you see them without the indications, they'll be there. Okay, and it has like that shape. You can see the brow. It looks like a canine nose and a mouth and some teeth. Okay, now if you go to the left of that, and you remember that forearm that we were looking at that had all the crocodile teeth or something,
Yep.
that's a gray's head. If you look at it, and I wish I could indicate it for you right now, but you can see these big black. See, it's not there in that one. I'll go one forward. No, the other way. I'm sorry.
It's this one.
Yeah. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, that shows you actually the one I said he started to get this like guy. That's him on the left. Okay, where the arrow's pointing, and I said he started to look like a reptilian, and you could see his face there. Okay, and on here on the right, I indicated teeth, nostrils, eyes, using white and red and black so they pop better. But you can see this face appear, and it's in there for like 10 or 15 frames, moving with the animal as it moves along. To the left of that arrow is the thing that looks like an open crock, like a triangle. You see teeth. And above that, there are eyes. These are indicated. There's all sorts of stuff. And on the left, far left, you see the head start multiplying. You see multiple eyes there.
Did you want me to try to find the one you said had the gray?
Yeah. Well, let's pop back for a second. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So we can go to that's the very first one. I
Okay.
can just
So
go
let's go
through
from
them.
there.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
we're
that's
there,
one.
and
That's 2.
okay, that's 2. Now you see where that forearm is. There's nothing that looks like a gray's face there anymore, although that gecko face starts to appear. Okay, now keep going.
That's 3.
Okay, now here we have 2 different faces, which are indicated and will be explored thoroughly. And the first one, you see squared, is the gray. I'm sorry, that looks like a dog man. And that is actually on the left photo, is actually to the left of the one that's outlined there. You can't see it as well there. It starts to come through. So the one on the left is actually framed before, several frames, and then this one. So the face that's on the left side is indicated with the orange blocks, the left frame. That one moves off and disappears as the animal changes shape with it. Okay, and it's getting confusing. But the gray face is on the image on the right, where that forearm, that front leg is on the bottom. So if you look to the ground, the cat's glowing eyes are right to the right of that.
I can see it.
Yeah, and go straight down. That's a gray's face. It looks like a gray's face.
Yeah,
I mean, the black eyes appear from nowhere, and it has this, large egg-shaped head. So, any questions from anybody yet?
I will swing back into
Sure.
the media assets. So
Yeah, I don't have access, I don't think, to the chat here unless I go
people
into
saying you were amazing and awesome and appreciated. People saying hello.
hi.
Somebody thinks the shape-shifting big alien cats. And Horace Smith got the video link to work, which was good because he couldn't get it to work before.
Cool.
But he also says, my initial impression is not of a cat, but some odder animal, hog-like. Beats me. He will have to look at it more carefully, he says, and I'm sure he will.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll see when you first see it, it looks like a cat. It's sort of a cat, but its skin is beginning to bubble up and do the, like that movie, John Carter's
John
the
Carpenter.
Thing. Yeah, that's a terrifying situation. This is some sort of predatory, infectious thing, pun intended, that does all this stuff. This doesn't strike me as that at all. This strikes me as an animal that lives in the woods and lives like any other animal. It just happens to have this unique ability, and obviously it's very good at hiding from people because people are innately dangerous at times.
Well, what I was surest of when I saw it, to contradict Horace a little bit, but he's only started watching it. After I watched it all, it did indeed seem to me like it was a big cat, like and not a domestic house cat, because there's an interesting piece in the video where you put a photo you take from the same angle of you with a measuring tape outside, and you realize that whatever this thing is, when it looks like a cat, it is definitely not a domestic house cat.
Right.
At the very least, it has to be some probably out of place animal where you live. Like this has to, at the very least, be some kind of black puma or something, right? Like at the very least.
Yes. That was my initial thought. And the cool thing is that the frames that I took were from like still frames of video from the exact same camera, security camera, exact same distance, exact same position, and I just overlapped them so you could see. And that let me get an almost exact estimate in terms of the animal's height. Now, keeping in mind, though, that's assuming that the cat, like there's a concrete slab there, okay, that you stand on before you go down the stairs. That's assuming that it was right behind that slab, okay? And that's what I did to be conservative, okay? So we know it's at least 18 inches at the shoulder. If it was a yard further back or 18 inches further back, it would have been bigger, of course. It varies. It's just like if my hand is like this and my hand is like that distance of 6 inches, one hand looks significantly bigger than the other. See?
I have a few questions. And I'll answer this, and then you will. Horace says, how would Dean or Max compare it to a bobcat? Well, I've had, as Horace probably knows because he's a good friend of mine, I had a bobcat in my backyard earlier this summer, and I would say this looked bigger than a bobcat, and it also looks like it has a longer tail than a bobcat later in the video when you get to it, Horace. Like, to me, it at least had to be some kind of cougar of some description, at the very minimal.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, forced perspective could make it look bigger, obviously, but it's right there. So we've got a pretty, conservative estimate about its size. But when you look at the body shape, it has the elongated body shape of a cougar or an incredibly big house cat. Um, and it has like this small cat-like head, and that the body is like there's a shoulder, okay, which indicates something with muscle, and then it's elongated, and then, like you said, it has that long tail. Um, but I'm sorry, I know there were some questions popping up before that. I
Yeah,
missed it.
I'll hit you some of these. Swamp Dog Overland Adventure says, could it be a dog with a hyena head? And then he corrected himself and said, I mean dog man. So could it be a dog man with a hyena head? Could it be something like that?
Well, let's look at show. Can we pull up the? I sent you a couple more pics. Let's go further. Okay, so let's stop here. So
Is
that's
this
the one I mentioned where it shows you how the gecko guy starts coming through, and you start getting this head showing and an extra heads for the cat itself. Now let's go a little further. Is this the okay? Okay, great.
number 5?
So this one shows you what I call like the crocodile head, and this shows you I emphasize the teeth, but just adding, and the eyes. And if you compare the two, then it gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. And there are other little faces above that are indicated throughout the video that show these things popping up. What I'm calling an anthropoid face is still off to where the cat's tush is, which is a sizable head. But this shows you this weird thing that looks like I don't know, like a crocodile, jaws open. Maybe that's it. And maybe it's some sort of reptilian or I don't know, fish or something like that head, but it has eyes above it. Or is that part of the same animal or being, or there's just eyes that are there looking out? You can't really say. I mean, if this thing is aware of other beings from other worlds or other vibrations, then it could obviously imitate any of them because it's part of its DNA, I guess, or its abilities.
Did you want me to go on to the next, or do you want to?
Yeah. Let's go further.
Okay.
I think okay. So here, okay. Now here we got some crazy stuff. I don't think I sent any indications, but first we look to the right, just off of center. If you look to the far right, you can kind of see what we're calling our little crocodile mouth with the eyes, but it's starting to be absorbed or disappear. To the left of that, our gecko guy is there. You can see his eyes are pretty big, and the face, etc. It's there. Above the eyes to the right of it is these other eye that's peeking out, which I wish I could indicate, and some tubercles or something around the eye, and it looks like almost like a brain sticking out or something like that. It looks like there's a gray head where the crocodile mouth is, or maybe it's being engulfed, but of course it wouldn't be eating itself, so who knows. And to the far left, you can see the animal is now showing multiple heads. And again, this isn't residual imagery because these heads are all angled differently, and they're all looking at me at the same time. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's
like Cerberus on video. I mean, I was like, what the heck am I looking at here? You know,
there is that Cerberus kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is number 7. If you want to go on to the next one.
Yeah. Here, this one. Yeah, the Geico. Oh, I don't say Geico guy. Take that out. The gecko guy from the commercials. Anyway, like this shows you where the eyes would be if you back it up. Just flip right back to the previous one. I wish they were side by side, but they are in the video. You see in this, now go back and forth. If you can toggle back and forth just 1 or 2 times, like boom, boom, or is it a pain in the butt?
No, it's easy.
Okay. Yeah, and that gives you an idea. See, and I think there's a frame difference there when you see it. So there's movement happening also. See? And so it's like crazy. And there's 1 or 2 scenes in there that really shocked me. And I explore this in detail, is that at one point there's a large face towards the animal's haunch, and it has like these globular eyes that sort of look like crystal hemispheres. Like if you took a crystal dome like that and turn it, and this is the eye. And as you see the two of them, and this one is like not as good, this one's better. So that'd be the left. Yeah, the left. And you see the cat's body moves behind the eye. It's as if there's a second layer with this crystalline globe or hemisphere, I guess, your dome, and the cat's moving behind it. You can see its form, the outline travels behind that eye. And to me, that could mean only 1 or 2 things. Well, I can't say what the heck it means exactly, but it looks as if maybe the animal is showing part of itself, and then it's layering, and then it's discarding the outer layer, and its true form is moving behind that, and then it absorbs that whoosh into itself and continues forward. It can't be a complete illusion because it's being recorded by a camera. So it'd have to be something that the camera is able to register, not like a, like a hologram or an optical illusion would not be recorded. See?
We have a related comment from somebody here I've got to get back because we've had a lot of comments since I've been doing that, and that was let me find it. And it was from Patty B, and this might tie into some of my broader, weirder ideas of the paranormal. And she says, I think half joking, she says, I think these creatures just love taunting Max, like the fairy that was on the road that your daughter saw.
I don't know if it's that. I mean, writers and people like yourself, we are inherently empathic, not necessarily telepathic, but we give off vibes maybe that everybody else doesn't. There are things about us, our attention to nature, to beauty, to animals, to details, things of that of that. I just realized I think my crucifix is on backwards, but anyway. By the way, this is 1,200 years old. It's an actual Viking crucifix. Imagine. So anyway, but I think there's things like that that actually may draw beings like that to people that are authors and poets and just have a curiosity about nature and things around them. But the what we were calling it was definitely a fae of some kind. Thank you, Jason. It's Johnny Depp, told me these are the best ones to get, so I chose them. Kidding. Never met him. But yeah, like that fae, it was literally on the ground and it was hurt. And when it saw us and it looked at us and then it sprang up into the air, and then its wings whoosh, came out. That was the first thing like that I've seen, and I was just like with the UFO, I'm like the same thing. And if I hadn't hesitated and watched that UFO for like that 10 or 15 seconds, however long it was, 30 seconds, I probably would have got it better on film, pictures of it. But the same thing with the fae. I had no time. I stared at it. I was like, it's like you're looking at something and it's impossible to your mind. Something with insect wings that are 3 or 4 feet across, hovering 20 feet from your headlights and vibrating and looking right at you. You're like, you freeze. At least I did. But yeah, I don't know if they taunt me or they're just curious or what. Maybe they want a book signed. They're like they don't know how to express it.
I'm sympathetic to the tone of Patty B's idea, because I do think there are people, as you were saying, for whatever reason, are more receptive.
Mm-hmm.
And John Keel wrote about perhaps some people are almost like somebody holding an umbrella. When people are near them, they also come into the span of the umbrella and they see more things. And I think potentially, and that's why it's interesting, the video that you're showing and talking about tonight, is that maybe these things do change. Maybe all of this is the same. Maybe there's some root phenomenon, and all the phenomena we see, whether it's Dogman or whether it's big black cats or whether it's Sasquatch or whether it's the Virgin Mary or whether it's UFOs or the ghost of your great aunt, Gertrude, maybe all of these things emanate from the same source. So if this thing you've captured is actually shifting between things, maybe it's indicative that these things aren't different. They're just presentations.
Right.
And interestingly, before Lauren Coleman, who's probably arguably one of the most famous cryptozoologists alive today, and before Jerome Clark, who's arguably one of the most famous extraterrestrial hypothesis UFO historians alive today, before they became, Clark probably became more flesh and blood, or rather Coleman became more flesh and blood cryptozoologist, and Clark probably became more of a nuts and bolts ufologist. They wrote a number of books. Creatures from the Outer Edge was one which looked at cryptids, and I think what's the other one? The Unidentified, I think, is the UFO one. But in Creatures from the Outer Edge, they say that they think all of these things are the manifestations from some single source. And John Keel said similar things. So if your video is indicative of something changing shape, maybe it's indicative that all of these things aren't unrelated, that maybe all these things are the same.
Well, it's possible. I mean, we could be looking at an interdimensional being or creature there, something, and people put out theories like that perhaps extraterrestrials are all around us. They're from a different dimension, occupying the same space. Like this planet, if you could see everything around you, might be a whole different world, that type of thing. So it is possible that the cat is actually moving or shifting back and forth between dimensions, let's say, and absorbing energy from these dimensions to change its shape, its appearance, that type of stuff. And if that's the case, then it's just like you said, it could be a lot of different things. These animals, these beings could be everywhere. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe it's just when they travel from one dimension to another, they come here like maybe like when you and I go on vacation and it's going somewhere else. Or maybe whatever it feeds upon, I mean, cats are predators, so it'd be eating small animals. Maybe where it lives, there isn't enough food, or maybe it comes here to hunt, or maybe who knows? It could be anything. But it's definitely got a lot going on there in terms of its body and what you see. When you see things like one form moving behind another, you got to say to yourself, well, how is this layering happening? See, is it a trans-dimensional, trans-vibrational type of thing? Interdimensional, this type of thing? Or is it actually here, and is it just changing form and shedding layers of itself and reabsorbing them like it appears to be? Anything is possible.
Well, there are so many comments and questions since we've been chatting and since I've been toggling between things. Let me just see if I can. I put this up on the screen before, and Stone Picker says, I bought a lighter with a black panther and roses today. I love the synchronicity of that. That's fascinating.
Well, we got a Black Panther here, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
That's why it's fascinating. Matthew Walter says, "What about a bear?" I think if you watch the whole video, Matthew, it definitely, predominantly, whatever the changes are in it or aren't in it, predominantly looks like a feline, and a big feline to me. It looks like some kind of big cat when it's not.
Yeah.
Moving, right.
Actually, can we pull up the next frame? I think I sent you the one. It was like the thumbnail for the video. It might be the last one.
Was it the advertisement thumbnail for the
Yeah,
video?
yeah.
I don't. I can get that for you while you talk if you want to chat about it. Let me go download that because I don't think I put that one up there.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. The when I was speaking to somebody, when you're looking up things in terms of a shapeshifter and stuff like that, you get different stories from different people. And I spoke to someone, and they told me that these beings, they call them shifters or shapeshifters. Others, Native Americans, have a different name for it, but which we'll get to in a second. And they typically they take forms like a fox, a large cat, a lion, a hyena is popular. A bear wasn't mentioned. That we'll talk about that in a second. Or a human giant. Now that part I found a little hard to believe based on the size of the animal and stuff. So that could just be confusing, perhaps. Maybe a lycanthrope, let's call it, or a lichen or something like that. But here, this shows you the animal, and when you see in the beginning, it definitely looks like a cat. It has the long feline structure and everything. But here, it has now gone towards the end of the video. It has turned towards me, and it is facing me in a pose similar to this AI art of a wolfman or something like that on the left. And if you look, Dean, can you see this image? I guess he can't. But if you look, you can see there is a very large head.
I can see it.
Yeah, and it looks sort of kind of like a lion or hyena, maybe a lion more. The lower jaw is fairly robust and such, but the animal is much more massive now. It is like, I got to send him the frame. Let me go into the video. I wish I'd sent you the frame that shows the comparison between the cat when it starts off and towards the end. I thought we did that before, but I thought I sent it to you, but I probably didn't, which makes me quite the slacker.
Let's
see what we got here. While I'm doing this, Native Americans, and I found this out on another show. I'm going to have to mute this so I don't hear myself talking. They call this being, at least this is my impression, a wampus cat. And a wampus cat is okay, hold on, that should be it right about there. let's see if we can go a little further. There are images of it, and it has like 6 legs or something like that. And it's these cats. They also call them submarine cats. And you guys can Wikipedia this and stuff. But and Native Americans have been talking about these animals for gosh knows how long. And an animal like this, where it can look like it has 4 or 5 heads, could easily look like it has multiple legs as an illusion to make itself look like there's more than one of them, or just as it's shape-shifting or something like that. Let me see. Do this. Hold on one second. Pause this. That's perfect right
That's
there.
something we'll talk about in a minute as well. More about that shape-shifting theory, more about the stories that you're aware of, because I think that's a big part of this as well.
Yes, definitely. Okay, I sent you a great frame that we need to use, and I'm going to actually look up like what a wampus cat is defined as.
Sure, you talk about the wampus cat while I go and upload
Cool.
that image.
There are statues and stuff of them. You can Google this, but it says that here, a wampus cat is a cat-like creature in American folklore that varies widely in appearance, ranging from frightful to comical, depending on region. It says early references from the American Dialect Society describe the wampus cat as a creature heard whining about camps at night, a spiritual green-eyed cat having occult powers, or an undefined imaginary animal. It says folklorist Vance Randolph described the wampus cat as a kind of amphibious panther which leaps into the water and swims like a colossal mink. Now that would make sense if the animal wanted to escape people, Native Americans, pioneers, things of that nature, where it would just jump into the water as a cat, an amphibious panther it's called, but then swims like a mink, meaning its body would adjust because a mink can probably swim a lot better than a cat might, per se.
Right.
And there are images and drawings like that.
I have the latest frame for you too, whenever you want to.
Okay, cool. Let me go over, find where we're at here. Okay, StreamYard. Okay, sure, let's do this. Okay, now, this will put to rest anybody who says that this entity or this animal does not change form. If we look at the cat's image on the right, and this isn't even fully bright, and you can already see here, though, the one on the right is definitely a cat. You can see its glowing large eyes, like what its headlights. Okay, if you look for the right arm, you see the gray's head there. If you look in where the ribs are, you can see the dogman face and another face behind that. So you see all these different faces on this animal's body. Is that an ant? My God, it looks like an insectoid head too. I never even noticed that one before. Okay, so this cat is pulling out all the stops. This wampus cat, to protect itself, to feel that it's safe. Okay, now, cool. Sonia saw the wampus cat. Please share. And while you're writing, now if you look at the one on the left, this is the animal turned towards me. These are 2 frames put together, beginning of the film, towards the beginning and towards the very end. On the left side, you see the white half box. That is showing how big the head is, and the red dots are showing the eyes. Now you look at the size of that head, and you look at the size of the cat's head. The difference is astonishing. Astonishing. Now, granted, the animal has now turned towards me, and its head, its chin, you can see is overlapping the stone egress. Its paws seem to be behind the slab, but the head is overlapping. So it's probably, I don't know, it's pretty big, a foot closer. So that head's a little bit bigger. But even so, if the cat is right next to that, which it probably is, okay, and you bring that head back on the left, the big head, it's only going to drop maybe 20% size. But look at the size comparison between those two. That head on the left is 4 to 5 times as big. And the animal no longer looks like a cat. It now it's facing me, and it's hunched like I showed in that AI version. It's hunched forward. It's trying to look big and scary. Its shoulders are up. It's like this and everything. It is much larger, much more massive, and much more frightening because it's trying to be intimidating than it starts off at. I mean, this is a shape-shifting animal. And this is the only footage of it, as far as I know, that's ever been recorded. Period.
We had a question here, which just regarding, and I'll throw it up on the screen as I'm toggling, excuse me, back and forth. And Dookie Pickles asks, what state is this in?
Pennsylvania. in Bucks County, which is well known. Dookie Pickles.
It's a great name.
It is.
I always hear about Bucks County, by the way. That like Eric Mintel does stuff in Bucks County. I've had him on the show before. It must be like a hot spot of weirdness, from what I can tell.
Oh, it is. Well, this is where the Fae was. It's about, from where I am, maybe an hour from that cemetery when I was 19, and the hand was coming out of the grave. I mean, in front of a grave. I know nobody believes the story, but if you were there, if you'd have a heart attack, or you do like I did, and you run for your life. But that was in Pennsylvania. But Bucks County is very well known for Bigfoot sightings, dogman sightings, UFOs, extraterrestrials, all different things.
Missing
There's a lot
people
of,
as well. I know that David Paulides has done quite a bit of stuff mentioning that Pennsylvania is a weird state regarding missing people.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I'm sure not all beings, just like not all humans, are not necessarily friendly. So I mean, you have to, people get into accounts. I mean, humans sometimes have a shoot first, ask questions later type of philosophy. Some don't. Maybe there's beings out there that are similar. But I should talk to him at some point, because I actually have footage which might explain in one of his books. They read about like a predator-like being that was like an outline. Like in the movie Predator, you see that.
Yeah.
And I have footage of it. And the first video I did has that on there.
Well, you should. I know Paulides has talked about that in some of his films
Mhm.
and some of his books. Interestingly, Richard Shaver, who's one of the subjects of my documentary, was from Pennsylvania originally as well. So that's certainly a really weird state. I'm assuming there aren't meant to be cougars roaming the suburbs of Pennsylvania, right?
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I thought I heard something outside.
Oh my gosh.
1 second. Um, yeah, cougars. They're not supposed to be here, but and this is early in the documentary, so everybody will see it. There was a series of, gosh, it came from the street outside the house, and then it walked onto our lawn. The tracks were about 18 inches apart. The stride. It was just walking. It was definitely a mountain lion. The cat, I told you, 4-inch wide paw print. So I looked it up and everything. You're talking a big male Tom, could be 150, 200 pounds, who knows? But and it walked through all the way past my house, all the way into the backyard, and then into the back with the woods. And I didn't pay it much mind. At first I was like, oh my God. But this was like a few months after we saw the Fae, like maybe 2 months later. So after you've seen that, you're like, okay, a mountain lion, big deal. You know what I mean? I should have documented it better, like videotape the tracks and all that, so people would see there's no way that this is faked or anything like that. Because there's snow 1 inch deep, and then you have tracks, and there's nothing all around it. Like for any distance, you're not walking with a pole and a fake cat foot or something like that doing stuff. But it went into the woods, and we have so many deer here, whitetails. One time there was a few mule deer. I think they escaped from a canned hunting preserve. I hate to say it, but anyway, they have that in PA. But and there's so many deer. I figured it's not going to be a threat. The animal's just looking for deer. And then in the spring, a rotting deer out back was found in the woods behind my house, and the cops were here and all this stuff. So, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, there are a few, but a lot of people think that they're transient. They come from other states and they're migrating and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm glad they didn't shoot it. At least I hope they didn't.
I know that in the Walmart nearest to me, they actually captured a cougar on a camera in the Walmart a number of years ago. But these weird alien black cats appear, or alien big cats, and they're always black, I guess, appear all over the place where they shouldn't appear. Horace Smith asks another question. He says the camera's response to cat eyes could be checked with the assistance of a cooperative pet. Maybe Max has already had such comparison videos. I don't know if you've done any. I think there are other videos of cats that you show in that.
Oh gosh, I have so many feral cats walking
Right.
along, and their eyes and everything like that. I could, brighten them up, contrast them up, and stuff like that. I've done it a bit, but none of them are going, Bigfoot, gray, reptilian. I don't know what I am, whatever. I mean, I don't know what they are, type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I have cat videos, I have fox videos. There is one footage I have, ours, and I meant to touch on this. If I thought of it at the time, I didn't put in there. And then at one point, there was a large, dark colored fox that walks into the egress there and then walks down, turns around, comes back up. And it looks a little odd for a fox because of the color, although it could be melanistic. It has glowing eyes, obviously. But when it turns, its tail does this weird thing. It moves like the tail is dark and then it like shifts, boom, boom, like that. And I strongly suspect that this might be the same animal or a different one, or it's my imagination, but I don't, yeah, everybody says they turn into foxes a lot, but it looks like the tail seems to change. And so it's possible that it was doing the fox thing and just slipped up a little bit, or who knows what, but I get a lot of animals here. In fact, I got to check some footage actually when we get off, because, sometimes you put out like, feed for the deer or the birds and stuff like that. And, I think that brings other things around.
That was going to be one of my final questions for you. Have you been trying to recapture this thing? Like, have you been actively checking your cameras or trying to do something different to try to see if you get images of it again? Or
I haven't, not, I mean, if it was to come around, I think after its experience, it moved on to greener pastures, so to speak. But I haven't seen it again, but I'm sure it realized if it was a camera there, it would be more cautious. Any animal that's capable of doing all these things, and you can see in the video, I should point this out. I know we're going to run out of time soon, but at one point it turns towards the camera, and everybody says a lot of times they mess up your camera. It actually happens 2/3 through. It turns towards the camera, and all of a sudden everything fogs. I don't mean fog appears. You know how you do fogging in video where you're blocking somebody's face, like, somebody's there to rat somebody out, but they don't want to express their voice, and their face is all like pixelated. Well, it does that. Its whole body does it. It's like this. And I think as it was turning, and I think it was making a substantial change in his body. At least that's what I suspect now that I'm more I think about it. And it didn't want that on video. So it turned, and maybe I figured I'll turn and I'll look super intimidating and I'll send a message so this guy doesn't, not like I'm going to try and hurt it, do anything. Well, maybe at the same time, it didn't want to be obvious that it was doing that. So it messed the camera up like for like X number of frames, like 30 frames or something like that, but then it turns like the camera reset, and then you see it as it settles down, and you guys should watch those last, 20 or 30 frames real careful. Go through it slow, rewind it, look, watch. You're going to see its body doing different parts, and you'll see its whole face and everything slowly materialize, and you're going to be like, you'll watch it again, you'll be like, wait a minute, and this isn't fake, this isn't AI, this is, my security camera, and it just, and I click capture, and this is what I got. See, I had to do some work to make it pop better, because if it was pitch black, you'd be like, all right, I'm not really sure if I'm buying what he's selling. But when you look, you'll see, like when I show you eyes, like on the body, you'll see them. You just need them brightened up and zoomed in so they can, really show you. And all these different faces that are moving and changing. This isn't residual imagery. This isn't any artifact. This isn't, pixels like, oh, let's all play a practical joke on Max or something like that type thing. This was a cat that is not a cat, a very special cat. So
D-Man asked, did you show the video yet, Max? But no, we didn't show it in this episode, but in the show notes, you can go and find it where you can watch it on YouTube on Max's channel. So just go to the show notes wherever you're watching or listening to this, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or on an audio podcast platform somewhere, and you can click right through to that YouTube link, and you can watch the video. And did you want to throw out any, because it's been a great joy to talk to you again, Max, as it always is. Did you want to direct people to any of your sites, because you're also a best-selling author and you have all kinds of interesting things out there? Where are some URLs where people can check out what you're up to?
Well, the first thing I would say is you can go on Amazon. I have first the Cronus Rising series, which is paleofiction, so sci-fi adventure thrillers, and these are focused on a series of books. I think there's 7 in the series now, where there's a giant prehistoric marine reptiles alive in the present. It's kind of like Jaws meets Jurassic Park, which, believe it or not, the hashtag was coined from my first novel, Cronus Rising, it's called. And this goes through a whole transitional part of the series. It becomes very, not post-apocalyptic, but dystopian. Where there's parts where on a Cretaceous era island where these animals came from, and some certain theropod dinosaurs, but it's different than what you're used to. I think you would enjoy it. So that's there. And you were kind enough to mention books like, if you have children, my book, A Tyrannosaurus for Christmas, and that song, I Want a Tyrannosaurus for Christmas, which did very well. Oh my God, it was like when it came out, the number 2 indie song in the world.
Wow.
On the global charts. But yeah, very popular song. But yeah, that book is cool. And there's other stuff. I mean, I have a book called The Sleigh, which is a Christmas horror thriller, which will keep you up at night. And of course, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. If you're into cryptozoology, I explored a lot of stuff there with a very scientific take, no sarcasm, no jadedness, thank you, Patty, a sequel. I want that movie deal that they were offering, and then tried to get, play some funny business. Let me tell you. But I forgot what I was talking about now. See, I can't do 3 things at the same time. Monster and Mysteries. Everything is in there. I have evidence of mega sharks, not megalodon, but sharks that may be as big as 40 feet in length, predatory sharks. Okay, so there's in there. An immense squid, eyewitness reports on monster octopi, all different things like that, and any evidence we gathered for it. It was like the #1 new release and #1 bestseller in its category in all of Amazon. So you can find me on Amazon under Max Hawthorne. You can find me on Facebook. I think it's because there's so many weird, not real Max Hawthornes on there. It's like, I don't know why, but if you look up Facebook and hold on, I want to make sure it says Real Max Hawthorne on Facebook, you'll find me there. Just as we're clear on that. And I'm also on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram. And if the website is of interest, there's 2. One is called cronusrising.com, which is, of course, the Cronus with a K, the series for the books. And there is another site of mine called supernaturalsurvivor.com as well. So there's a ton of different stuff, but I'd love to hear from you. The YouTube channel team was kind of to provide the link. There's, oh my gosh, there's Megalodon information on there. There's evidence of I think it was a 32-foot shark is on there as well. A whale with giant bites like a yard across taken out of it that were photographed and filmed by some friends of mine. Great stuff.
I already have the chronosrising.com link in the show notes, and that will carry over to the audio version of the show also, so people can click through that to see where to get your things and to find out more, as well as watch the video we've been talking about, where the show notes have that YouTube link. As always, Max, it was an absolutely fascinating hour. I love having you on the show, and if people want to see you chat more about things with me, I think there's 3 earlier shows on the Untold Radio Network on Talking Weird that people can go back and check out as well. And I think you're also on the flagship show on Doug Hicheck's show on the Untold Radio Network, which is just Untold Radio at some time as well. So people should just go to Untold Radio Network on YouTube or wherever you listen or watch it and look for Max Hawthorne, and you can get more goodness from him. So thank you, Max. It was a great joy having you on the show.
Thank you. It was my privilege to be here. I really appreciate it.
Man, and until I talk to you again, which hopefully won't be in the too distant future, and until I talk to everybody else, which will be next Tuesday, same weird time, same weird network, 9 p.m. Central, at least for the next couple of weeks before we move to Thursday, please keep it weird.